So here's an interesting development. So, Sean Patrick Palmer, the guy who in last year in April 2024 threw a pipe bomb at the Satanic Temple's headquarters in Salem in a pretty blatant hate crime to fight Crybaby Satan. Now, that guy already had a record, so of course doing this was no surprise. But there's been a development, and it hasn't been a good one, because this case, like many, even cases where they are the victims, they continue to show a complete lack of competency and transparency. And the defense of the pipe bomber, which I can call him a pipe bomber because he's pleaded guilty. So here's the things they're challenging. How much TST is seeking in restitution after the plea agreement has went through, how they're calculating it, and what corporations in the Satanic Temple's constellation of affiliate entities, as Queer Satanic rightfully describes it, are actually involved. So the first argument of the pipe bomber's lawyer, they said, hey, we were told the restitution wouldn't exceed $10,000, showing off this docket, which I'm going to have to edit on screen because it's cropped out. But it basically literally says, full restitution to all victims not to exceed $10,000. That was part of the plea deal. But they're now demanding $20,000. So already they are violating the plea deal that they agreed to with the pipe bomber's defense. And it's even more crazy that they increased the amount they were demanding for in restitution, violating their own plea deal, because even their insurance decided to refuse to renew coverage because they didn't believe the attack really did much damage. Thankfully, that pipe bomb didn't really do a lot. It was intended to, but it didn't. So the amount they're asking for in prison time is reasonable, but the money they're asking for in violation of their own plea deal is fucking ridiculous. And they're still demanding more. They're demanding restitution in the amount of $1,180 in relation to the pet sitting fees incurred by an employee who had to make an emergency trip there, which is, as Queer Satanic points out, is quite a reach. And Queer Satanic thinks that they found the dog, but the Satanic Temple never provided receipts for it, which points to another issue with TST when it comes to transparency. They have not released their finances, despite repeated pressures to, both by Queer Satanic and by other groups. So basically, as again Queer Satanic says, yeah, the pipe bomber deserves prison and deserves all the charges. He tried to commit a religiously motivated, hateful terrorist attack against a protected class, so he deserves the prison time. But the amount that the Satanic Temple is demanding in restitution is fucking ridiculous. Which honestly points to a big problem with TST, and one of the main reasons I decided to found my own group instead of joining them. They have little to no transparency. The main reason TST fails their lawsuits is because they lack transparency and they lack the willingness to really try. Which is honestly why I founded my own satanic group in the first place. Because TST is not an advocacy group. That's not even how they were founded. They can say all they want that that's what they are. But I personally, and this is all my personal opinion based on what I've seen, this isn't concrete facts, I do not believe that TST is an advocacy group. They were founded originally as just a joke group, and then when Jex Blackmore came in, it started turning into a more left-wing progressive group, and that's when it truly started labeling itself as an advocacy group. But even still, they really don't do a lot. Now, their members are awesome. Many of them are great people, and many of them are in our organization. Their leadership, at least in my opinion, is truly fucked up. Lucian Greaves has been on recording saying lots of bigoted shit about all sorts of different groups of people, and their leadership continues to be extremely thin-skinned and lack even basic competency. My point being, in times like this, even when TST is the victim, they continue to lack even the slightest bit of competence and even the slightest bit of transparency. They continue, at least in my opinion, again, this is all my opinion, to grift, and to grift. They continue to do it even when they are the victim. And while I completely disdain, and even as Queer Satanic will point out, they completely disdain this attack. It was a hate crime motivated by the attacker's own religious beliefs, and they deserve every single second of prison time they get, and to have their name put up forever as a religiously motivated terrorist. But TST needs to be more transparent, and they need to have a far more competent leadership, because they pretty much speak for Satanism. Like, they're the ones who grab all the coverage. They're the group most people who aren't involved with Satanism associate with Satanism. The 7 tenets are the main code of conduct that everyone associates with Satanism. So in the very least, they need to represent us right. They need to be more trustworthy, they need to be more transparent, and they need to be more competent, even in cases where they are the victims. That's the bare minimum they could do. There are so many cases that have slipped through their fingers because they just stopped giving a shit and stopped being competent. They need to do better.